about the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers, episode 800.
Can you... True Milestone.
Yes,
That's right.
That
you
is
can actually
not
say milestone now.
a milestone.
That is a milestone. Episode 800.
That's wild, man.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just weird that 700 seems like it was so long ago, too. Because I mean, I guess that's a couple years,
Yeah.
at least, but I don't know. It's just weird.
What did we do for 700?
We had Leonard Maltin.
Leonard
on.
Maltin?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Maltin.
That's right.
So I mean, that seems so long ago now, but it was only a couple of years. But time works differently. I feel like these days,
COVID
after
messed us
2020,
up, man.
time is just bizarre.
If you go back and listen to that episode, he recommends a book.
Yeah.
I bought it.
Oh, nice.
I've got it. It's like the inside.
Was it a book he wrote?
I don't think so.
That was going on? He's just like, this is a great book.
Yeah,
You should
right,
read
right,
it.
right.
You're like, oh, son.
It was like the inside Warner Brothers, but it gave the years were like 1935 to 75 or something.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's really informative, but he did not write.
I was just...
Maybe he did. I don't know.
I doubt it.
No, his latest book was called Starstruck, and it's just, him talking about people that he's met over the years and all that. But I love those history books. I love the history, like old Hollywood, and
I like the real history. Like, I don't like it when they sugarcoat it.
no,
like
I want to know the real behind the scenes history. Yeah.
The LA Confidential of it all, where it's just like, oh, you guys are all terrible.
Yes.
Like, this whole organization was awful.
I don't want to watch a Queen biopic that Queen was involved in. Let's just put it that way.
That is like a great example.
It's like when you go back to old Hollywood, spoiler alert, they're all racist.
Yep.
Homophobe,
Yep.
except for the gay ones
That were
secretly gay
closeted.
ones, yes, and they're
Happy Pride Month.
They're probably all people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Everything that you think like people got Me Too'd for in 2021, it's worse.
and then 40% of our population says those are the good old days we need to go back to.
right.
I was about to say that's why the good old days really aren't that good.
Some things about them are. 90% of them aren't.
Yes.
Like the price of gas. That's great.
But if you adjust for inflation,
I guess it's probably the same.
it's not radically different.
I don't mind
Like,
paying.
it's-
I wouldn't mind paying a dime for a gallon of milk.
Yeah, would you mind making 5 cents an hour?
Right.
Like, I mean, that's
It's all relative.
right.
Yeah, right.
That's why it was a dime.
Except
right?
for nowadays, everything's more expensive and people are still making the same amount
Yeah.
of money.
It's weird how that works, isn't
Yeah.
it?
It doesn't quite like with inflation. Salaries used to like go up with inflation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a cost of living.
and now it's just like a flat line. Of like,
The
nope,
problem
nope.
is we just haven't given enough tax breaks to rich people.
that's the
That's
the
we
biggest
I
problem.
think this next tax break for rich people
If that was-
is going to be the one that finally knocks things loose.
The old
trickles
trickle down
down.
We'll
economics.
all start getting trickled on.
I've noticed that.
Oh,
because
we're getting trickled on.
Yeah.
I noticed that because now there's more billionaires than ever. There's
Yeah.
more millionaires. People, the rich have gotten so much richer.
Yeah.
And now we're all
Ta-da! Here we are.
doing a podcast for free.
That has commercials that we don't get money from.
Yeah. In different languages.
That's so great.
Oh, goodness. So
Thanks,
anyway,
government.
We just wanted to kick off episode 800
Yes, that's
with a little wokeness for
right,
you.
right. Things have sure changed since episode 1.
We should, this will never happen, but we should go back in every 100 episodes, like play the intro where we just blab, not the review, but like just see where we were and what we were talking about in each 100.
Oh, man.
Because think about it, that's every 2.25 years or whatever. You
Yeah,
know what
that's
I mean?
true.
Like, it would just,
Well, there was a period where we were doing 2 a week.
That is also
So
true.
that
we
would
were racking them up.
speed that up a little bit. But
oh yeah.
We did it, boys.
yeah.
Here's the 2 more years, and there's no way.
What?
If we get to 1,000.
Well, you going to quit?
I mean, no, I'm in.
Going this
like,
long,
I figure at this point,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm in. I think it would be insane.
It's weird on those, like, once or twice a year when we wake up on a Sunday and we don't have an episode to
That is
record.
true.
It's always like, it feels weird.
I think
800 Sundays, essentially.
I
Like,
think
we
it
hardly ever miss
was
one.
it last week? No, 2 weeks ago, where I got home and I was like, oh, I can go to bed.
I can just go to bed.
I can just go to sleep right now.
It is really weird waking up. You're right, just what you said. I thought the same thing when we were off because we recorded the 2, and I was
Right.
just like, "This is really
Oh.
strange."
Yeah.
Okay, this is nice.
Maybe I should quit.
Yeah, and I was like, "This is really nice not having to do a podcast today."
It was even wilder when we were doing the Review STL show.
Oh yeah,
That was
3 podcasts in a day. Jeez. We were younger men. Back
We
then.
were. That's true.
Can
yeah.
barely do one.
Yeah, we're lucky that these
These
coming
are-
out.
Yeah.
So
Before we dig in, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. That's super helpful and greatly appreciated. I think maybe we have a new one because Joe
I
just
thought that we
reached
did.
for his phone.
I did.
While he looks
Continue.
for that, I will remind you about Facebook, facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. It's called the League of Show Shares because we are hoping you will share an episode. People who were kind enough to share an episode last week include Librarian Cynthia, Chris Falls, Lane Levanway, Tom Dowdy, Julianne, Jordan, Ralph Tribble, Richard Krotzer, Phil Timon, Travis Tewitt, Gabriel Lugo, Dustin at Nerds at Night Gaming, Chris Magic Man, Taylor Ward, Heather Sachs, Edit Photo Gamer, David Rojas, Vertigay 314, Mike and Oscar, Spoiler Piece Theater, Dissect That Film, Binge Movies, Geek to Me Radio, Jarpo, In Session Film, Nostalgia Cast, which I will take a moment here to say I was on the most recent episode of Nostalgia
nice.
Cast. Yeah, they were kind enough to invite me on over there, and
We got to learn about your life story
It's
of
a
how you
good show.
became a critic.
Yeah,
That's a great show. I like those guys a lot.
And we talked about Dog Day Afternoon.
Oh,
It's
nice.
one of my favorite movies.
That's such a good movie.
It's so good.
They did a whole episode on Superman,
Yeah.
and I was like, "You motherfucker! That's my favorite. One of my favorite movies."
Oh, it didn't invite you
Yeah.
on?
Well, I'm sure they didn't know that I could do that movie front and back, but
Maybe that's why.
that's also possible. Yeah, I'm
So,
definitely not the.
But that was fun. So that's out there if you want to hear me talking about Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah.
So Ryan Terry, Ronnie Castle, Colby Mack, and Matt Neglia. So thank you very much, guys and gals and all points in between for sharing an episode. We greatly appreciate it. Did you find the review
We
yet?
have two. We have two.
Oh, we have two.
5 stars coming from Buddy Lee 80 Buddy_Lee85. I live in O'Fallon, Missouri, and I'm pretty sure we have crossed paths at the Alamo. It's either you or me. I don't know. It's one of the two of
Right.
us. I like how y'all stand your ground and stand by your opinions. It's encouraging to say the least. Please keep doing exactly what you're doing, and I'll keep listening. 5 stars and subscribed. Happy trails and safe travels. And then the other one is another 5-star from Crow Killer 06. I'm not sure. All right.
I wonder how Tom Servo feels about all that.
I was thinking Brandon Lee, but it works. Both
Yeah.
work. Love the show. Listening to this show is like chatting with your other film nerd buddies. It's fun and engaging. I love when the new episodes drop. Joe, friend me on Facebook already. Well, I don't know who you are. I will look through my friend requests and see what's there, and we'll go from there.
It's the guy with the avatar of Brandon Lee, the Crow.
And what would be great is if somebody could make, I'm sure it's out there, where it's or it's Crow.
Oh, dressed up as
as the Crow.
As the Crow,
Yes,
yeah.
that would. I'm sure it exists somewhere in the
I'm
universe.
sure it
except
Yeah.
it's Tom Servo.
Except it's Tom
that's-
Sawyer.
that's the-
That would be even better. Talk about mixing your references.
Right?
Also, don't forget we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Real Spoilers, where for $5 a month you get all sorts of bonus content, and we like you extra.
The Star Wars is going to be out soon once I'm done editing 9-hour.
The Star Wars? Okay, Mom.
We just did one long episode on
And
all of them.
what is next? Are we doing the SNL?
I think that's our plan. Is we'll do
Okay.
the SNL like
Movies.
spin-offs.
Well,
The SNL character spin-off movies.
Right.
Yeah.
So like Blues Brothers, which I didn't realize were SNL characters beforehand.
Yes.
Yeah. Coneheads, It's Pat, The Ladies' Man, Night at the Roxbury, Wayne's
Stuart
World.
Saves His Family.
Stuart Saves His Family. That I was the only one that knew that existed.
gosh darn it, people like me.
Quentin Tarantino was a script doctor on Stuart Saves
Is
His
that
Family.
right?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, wait. On It's Pat. He's a script
That's
doctor
even
on It's
funnier.
Pat, which I think is how Julia Sweeney ends up in Pulp Fiction.
That
would
sense.
make a lot of sense because
Yeah.
that is one of the most random.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, I was like, what?
Why is she in this?
Like,
Okay.
It's not like, I'm not mad about it. I'm just
No.
like, but why though?
And how?
Yeah.
How did this happen? But I guess that would make sense.
Quentin's got to eat.
Yeah, that's true.
You
That's
know?
true. So yeah, I think that's the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
MacGruber.
Oh,
Yeah.
MacGruber. Yep.
Again, do the
Wayne's
TV
World
show?
1 and 2.
I'm not gonna do the TV show.
Yeah, we'll just do
There's
the
a
movie.
Wayne's World, though, I love those movies.
Oh yeah,
That'd be
Wayne's
fun.
World 1 and 2 are probably the best.
I think MacGruber is probably my favorite.
Is
of
that
all the
right?
SNL movies. Oh my god, I love.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Did you watch the show?
I have not
I
watched
haven't
the show
either.
yet.
Yeah.
But
No wonder it's canceled.
Is it
Yeah.
new or is it old?
yeah, it was for Peacock.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's a
The
couple
people
years
that
old
actually
as well.
loved the movie didn't watch the show, and
Yeah,
we wonder why
that's
it's
Well,
fine.
because
canceled.
nobody had. I didn't have Peacock at the time, and then I keep forgetting it's there. And I know my wife doesn't want to watch it, so I have to watch it when she's not around. So, but yeah,
I'm about to get. I don't have to get. I can get rid of Peacock because WWE is leaving the service.
where's it going?
Netflix?
Wow.
Uncensored.
Uncensored.
Attitude Era
Like they're
2.0.
going. He's like, there's no. Yeah. Per the boss. He's like, we're just going to go back to edgier content. It's going to be live.
That's interesting because they make so much money and it's such a family, so many kids at it. Like to
I
go
think they figured out
uncensored-
that people with kids who love wrestling don't care if their kids hear the word.
Right. That's also true.
They're hearing it all day
yeah,
long
right.
anyway.
I also
focus
think
group
it's,
of one.
yes.
it's a
group of one.
it's a cycle, right? So the kids in the 80s who watched it grew up, so they were, when they got to the age of spending money, they changed the product
Yeah.
to go with those. And I think that's kind of where we are.
Yeah.
Is like those kids that watch
Now the
it.
Attitude Era
is
parents wanna.
Well, not even, but like the kids that grew up in like the PG era are now 20s and
Yeah.
teens.
It's interesting. We'll see how it goes. They've created such a I don't know if you say family friendly, but like it
is.
Take your kids and whatever. And
Yeah.
so I do think there's going to be some
I think
people that-
have a lot more tolerance for
true.
cuss words and stuff these days.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
Nobody's going to be whipping out their cans or something.
No?
I wouldn't think.
I don't know. I
guess
don't know.
it's
But
been-
it is the interesting thing is it's live sports on Netflix, which I don't think has happened yet. I don't think
Boxing?
They've done sports. They've done like live comedy.
right.
I thought they'd done boxing.
That I don't think it happened. It was supposed to be Jake Paul and Mike
that was
Tyson.
the first one. They never did it before.
I don't think so. I could be
thought-
wrong,
okay,
but I don't
but
think
it's-
that they did.
it's
That's
a new
to
thing
me.
for
That's
sure.
interesting.
Yeah.
like the idea of having live sports on
Yeah.
Netflix or sports entertainment. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, that's the only reason I had Peacock is because they had the network on there. And now I don't need to have it.
Yeah, I would
Nah.
think there's probably a lot of people that were like wrestling that were like, oh well, I get WWE and I get all this other stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Well, the network was what, $10 a month.
Yeah.
So I mean, that Peacock being 12 or whatever. I
And
mean,
you
that
got
was a great
all
value.
all the premium live events.
Right,
They're
which
not
would have been
pay-per-views
which would have been
anymore.
$30 or $40 each. So-
Netflix has apparently aired live golf and tennis.
Okay.
I don't know how you can tell if golf is live.
I guess this is loud. I'll just turn it on to fall asleep
Yeah.
to.
So anyway, there's all that. Let's dig into.
Did you mention YouTube?
Oh, watch us on YouTube. There.
Done.
Yeah, we need to start putting that in the front.
That is that's fun. Like I saw we're at like 510.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's getting there. I mean, long story short, people are changing their viewing and listening habits. We don't have as many people listening on podcasts anymore because people just don't do that. They watch YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's a nice, happy medium now that, obviously we're still on podcasts, but all the people that would never have a podcast app, but they have YouTube, can catch these there.
We're
So,
there.
Yep.
Yeah, we are there.
So anyway, there's all that. Let's dig into A Quiet Place, Day 1, Cloverfield.
That's exactly what I thought. This is an interesting movie because I feel like the first one, which I'm almost positive was supposed to be a Cloverfield movie.
I
And
think
they-
he keeps saying that, but I don't think that's true. I think
thought
we
that- I
debunked
thought-
that every
did
time.
we? Well, I'm going to stick with it.
I don't think so.
I don't
'cause
think
this
so.
is such a John Krasinski baby. I can't imagine that he would have then.
He wasn't making a Cloverfield movie,
set
yeah.
in his
I thought
Cloverfield
okay,
movie.
but that movie
Now, he may have watched Cloverfield
Yeah.
took the
and
idea.
decided to make Cloverfield.
That first one is incredible.
I think I
Like,
said it on the second one. I think I like the second one better.
the second one's a
They're
different.
both-
They're both
great.
really good. But
Yeah,
they're both great.
Cillian Murphy's so freaking good.
He is very good.
And I think Emily Blunt, I've said it before, like I think Emily Blunt is a dramatic actress and an action actress because we've seen Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow. We've seen her
I
in
think she's
Quiet
also a
Place
very
2.
funny.
I don't like her comedy, but I don't think Jungle Cruise was funny, and I
You
don't
can't
like.
blame, I don't know if you can blame that on her.
Okay, but I'm just saying I didn't like her in Jungle Cruise, and I didn't think all her comedy parts in The Fall Guy, the entertaining movie, but I like her. She's a great actress. She's great in dramatic stuff, and in the action, I think she kicks ass.
Yeah.
So that second one where she's the lead.
She's front and center.
And then Cillian Murphy comes in, and he's excellent. And so anyway, those first two movies are great.
But I think those are two different movies. Like, there's an emotional side to that first one.
I think that's what makes them work, right? Is that it's a continuation of the story,
Right.
and not just a repeat of the first
Yes.
one. For years, sequels were oftentimes just kind of like, "Well, do what you did last time,
Yeah, just redo it.
but bigger." And I think with the rise of especially prestige television,
Yeah.
I
yeah.
feel like people approach movies sequels now more like, well, it's the next episode of a show.
Yeah.
Which,
I think you're exactly right.
Which I think benefits it. A lot of people would feel like, well, movies aren't TV, but it means we get fewer sequels that feel like retreads. And so A Quiet Place 2, I thought, very much felt like we saw a story in the first one, and now this is what happens because of what happened
Right.
in the first
Well,
one.
you get that great flashback to day one
Yeah.
in part 2, and it's that great sequence of them on the street and not figuring it out.
I think that's the biggest problem with this movie. I like this movie. I think it's entertaining. Like, at the end of the day, I want to say that if we just came to a podcast and said, yeah, it was entertaining, that wouldn't be much to listen
Right.
to. So we're going to have critiques. That does not mean the movie was bad. It does not mean that it's not worth seeing. But plot-wise and of this series, everything you needed was in A Quiet Place Part 2.
And
the
one,
opening.
yeah, 1 and 2. Oh,
And
yeah.
that
Yes,
flashback
you're right.
was incredible, right? So
Yes.
the problem with this movie, I think, if you're not just going to kill time, like, it's entertaining, but it does not teach us anything. Like, if we're going to go to day one, I thought, we're going to learn a lot more about the monsters,
about like how they got here or what the response was.
Yes.
Or
but
I
this
agree.
is just like, this is taking place in a different spot, which
Right.
again, entertaining.
Well,
It's
I
not
think
good
the
action and stuff, but
the interesting thing that I found is so 1 and 2, Quiet 1 and 2 take place in a small town in, we'll just call it the Midwest. It's kind of what it looks like.
I thought it was upstate New York.
Is that what it was?
are they all in New York? I didn't realize that.
I thought it was like upstate New York, but
Okay.
I could be totally
Okay.
wrong.
And where that one, the aliens, or I guess they're aliens, they pretty much take out that town fast, right? Where this is set
Because
in...
they were all loud talkers.
That's right. This one takes place like in the heart of New York City, and I do like that they give you that little tag at the beginning about the decibel level
Yeah.
in New York at any given time, and just
Okay, so here's the thing about the decibel level. Wouldn't that make it harder for the aliens to find
That's
people?
what kind of what I
'Cause
thought.
It's like white noise to them.
Right.
Like everything is noise, and they're just, here's a big giant patch of noise. Nothing I can do there. Like
Right.
it would be
They
make
can't
more
see
sense
anything.
to start in the small towns where it's quiet, and then you get a burst of noise, and you can
and you head
zero
that
in.
way.
Yeah,
And
that's what I was thinking during this whole movie, and that's one of my complaints. Again, I mean, this is nitpicky, but as I'm watching the film, I go, the sounds and the reaction to the sounds don't make sense in this movie because the whole point that we've learned from the first two movies is the aliens are super sensitive with that huge eardrum that's in their mouth or whatever. You know what I mean? It's super
I will
sensitive.
say that design is still badass.
Oh, it's a great design.
It's
But
great.
the point is, if they're like, well, we're going to whisper. No, they have super sensitive hearing.
Right.
If you're
Right,
whispering,
right.
that's like yelling
well,
to them.
that was always the
It
biggest
doesn't-
part of the first one, right?
Yeah,
is
do
like
sign language. Don't talk at all.
don't talk.
And
They
then
don't
I
talk
know-
until they get to like that bunker
Yeah.
in the bottom.
And I
But-
know the first half of this movie is like a silent movie, and I go, that's cool. Make them have no dialogue. I love it. But then later on, they start whispering, and I'm
Right.
like, that's not how this works. They can hear your whispers like you're yelling from across. So like,
Well, I like
I don't
that
think
they,
they're consistent in this movie.
No, they're not. They are sometimes. Like I like the idea of him.
It's
Well,
not consistent.
right.
That's what I just
But I like the idea of like him kicking the door in and timing it with the thunder.
Yes,
like
yeah.
that makes sense.
Right.
But and then is it the first one or the second one when they go under the waterfall?
I think
and
the
then
second
they-
one.
It's the
What?
first
I think
one.
it's
He
'cause
takes her out to. He takes the daughter out.
Yeah,
to the water.
Krasinski
Oh,
takes her
okay.
out there.
Yeah.
I was
And
thinking
so
of
like
something else.
they
so
play
when they're
with
in
that
that
here.
fountain later.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like we've seen
and
that.
fire near the fire because they use fire and water.
Do they?
Yeah.
I don't remember the fire
I
part.
guess because it makes that like crackling.
Oh,
and
I
whatever.
guess.
Just real quick, the first two are upstate New York.
Okay, so at least they're all close together.
Yeah.
Like this, okay, that makes sense.
And the thing is, I think this is a really smart idea because we're following one family in a quiet place, and
Yeah.
the whole world's being taken over by aliens. So you can't tell.
It's just New York.
Yeah,
As far as they went.
It's the monsters
That's
are
it.
anti-woke.
So this is a great idea on paper because you can see what other parts of the world. I think maybe they should have chosen a different country or something, like, you know, make it drastically different. But you can tell these stories forever.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, you could put it in another country,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't even, because nobody's talking. For
Correct.
The bulk of the, you know what I mean?
You
So,
know,
like,
if
you
the
would-
language
you
is
would-
barrier
yeah.
isn't a
Yeah,
big deal.
I think they probably had 10 pages of dialogue, if
Yeah.
that.
I think different cultures would be interesting to see. So anyway, they've set this fairly similar, but I think then if you're going to show a different story of what people were doing, maybe they should have added, I think, a little bit more background. And so I was disappointed we didn't. I don't need all answers, but like, you know, we're going to get, like, every movie you learned a little bit of piece of information. You learned, like,
Yeah.
new information about these aliens. And so this one, and also whenever she gets, like, knocked out and wakes up, they all know to be quiet. Like, there was no learning period of, like, they use,
So-
like, exposition of, like, be quiet.
Right.
How would they know already?
I think how they know is you do get a scene of the choppers flying over the cities telling people to be
right.
quiet.
To be
How
quiet.
do they know?
Right.
I mean, it just happened so soon. They landed,
Well,
and then
we-
later that day, they're like,
we
be
don't,
quiet.
but we don't know if they've already landed in another
Okay.
country, and you know what I mean, or
Yeah.
another part of the country, and
Yeah.
they figured this out, and so word is
Well,
spreading.
we don't. Again, to this was my problem, right? To go along with that, we saw day one. Like we saw day one, and there, you know, but I guess we didn't. I
Everybody's
guess
going to have a different day one,
but I guess
right?
we also didn't see day two,
yeah,
right? Like we see them initially land, and then we flash forward to
yeah.
the events of the first.
But
movie.
everybody's day one's going to be different.
I just mean like
right?
from the government standpoint, where
Yeah.
it feels like on day one they were out there with choppers, being like, "Hey, shut up."
See, this movie is essentially, we've already seen this. It's called Independence Day.
What?
Well, because think about it, because the aliens land, and then you have a scientist who's like trying to get back to the government and tell them how they work. This was missing the part where you're like interested. How are they going to defeat
Where
them?
Will Smith punches an alien in the face?
Yeah, but like Jeff Goldblum is the scientist. I think they kind of made the movie without the part about let's help the government figure out what they're going to do and help them. This was just kind of like let's get through the day. Let's get this guy on a boat, right? So there was no like hope. There was no figuring it out because she wakes up and they're like, be quiet already. I would have liked a little bit more of like the experimentation of, we found out, they're super sensitive to noise, but they're blind. Like we never got a reveal of that.
Right.
It would have been interesting for our characters on day one to be like, they can't see us.
I do wonder. I don't know if the writers of this are the same writers as 1 or 2. I mean, obviously Krasinski did not direct this.
Right.
He was too busy making If.
He has a story credit, but I don't know if that's
I think a story.
it's
because he wrote the first
exactly.
one. Yeah,
I think so.
So in those first 2, I feel like the first one, I get very big Stephen King vibes from that first one because it makes you care about the characters.
Scott Beck and Brian Woods, I guess, are writing partners, and yes, they wrote on the original.
They did. Okay.
Yep.
Where this, that first one is they make you care about everybody involved, right? They keep
Yeah.
it very small. And then when spoilers for the end of A Quiet Place 1, when Krasinski sacrifices himself, like it's a big deal. I feel like in the second one, they kind of get away from that character building thing.
Because I already did it.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So here, they have to do it from scratch.
And this feels like that to me. It did have like the Mist vibes. Like that's kind of where I was feeling with this.
I think a big problem for me with this one, Lupita Nyong'o is great. I
Yeah.
think she's great in everything.
Yeah. She's got, her expressiveness.
Oh my gosh.
is so good.
She's amazing,
She's
right?
so good. Yeah.
I think part of the problem was they gave us a very bland other character who
Eddie Munson?
I think he's I think he's a very forgettable character. I didn't care about him. His little story about I came from England to be a lawyer and that's all I have. Like,
Can I tell you, though,
her
when
story was so built up of like, okay, I care about this person, and he's just like, hey, I'll tag along. I'm a lawyer.
What I thought was great is something that we've always talked about is like he's Eddie Munson, right, on Stranger Things, but he has an American accent in that.
Right.
He's not American.
Right.
So when he was like, I'm from London, I was like, well, okay. Like you're not making him put on. You're just letting the guy talk. Like you
Right,
don't
that's-
have to do. But he's your Johnny Storm.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean,
Interesting.
he's
haven't seen-
great on Stranger Things.
What season are they on?
4?
Okay, I haven't seen 4. I saw 3, which was the mall one, which I loved.
Then
I
I
just
think
never saw 4.
I highly recommend 4. 4 is really good.
People worry about. I haven't seen it yet.
And he's a great character.
And so I don't. Was he is he from 4 or was he in all of them?
No, he's just in 4.
Okay, because I was going to say, I don't know this guy.
Yeah, he's introduced. He's like the dungeon master, the Hellfire Club.
Okay.
Like that T-shirt that became very popular. He's wearing that T-shirt.
Okay, I feel better now because when people said he was in Stranger Things, I go, I guess I forgot, or he looks different. I didn't realize.
Well, he does look. He's very like.
But I've never seen him. Is my point.
Well,
So,
he's in that show. He's very 80s heavy metal. So he's got like the long hair and the whatever.
Okay, so let's put it this way. I have no love for that character and have it's Eddie from Stranger Things.
Right.
I think he's a bland.
You're not bringing any goodwill from the previous.
I thought this guy is about whatever bland and milquetoast is it comes. He was okay, but I'm just saying, like, I didn't care about him.
I believe it's milk crumpet.
Milk crumpet, okay.
or
milk biscuit.
Biscuit. Or tea toast.
Tea toast,
yeah,
okay.
milk biscuit.
Again, he was fine, but, like, Lupita Nyong'o's character, you're following her from the beginning. You find out she's in hospice. She's dying. They make her very sympathetic. Her only family is this cat that she has, and she has a kind of friend at the hospice.
Hey, which twin was that? The guy who's, like, the nurse?
That's Alex Wolff.
What? Was it Alex or was it his brother?
That's Alex Wolff.
Okay. Which one was in Hereditary?
Alex Wolff.
I saw him. I was like, oh, yeah.
So I didn't realize until I saw an interview. So I went back and I was watching interviews trying to like hear what the filmmakers and actors were saying. And they're doing interviews with all the characters. And they go to Alex. I go, that's Alex Wolff? I go, why are they interviewing him? I didn't recognize him in this movie.
Well, he's got like a huge beard and,
right?
Like long hair.
And I liked him. And the character is like Jason or something.
He's like the caretaker at the hospice.
In the hospice.
Yeah.
He was charismatic. Like I was like, whoever this is, like they're doing a good job. I like them.
Don't get used to him.
Ruben is the character name. But then I saw the interview and I go, Alex Wolff's in this, and I look it up. I'm like, holy crap!
Well,
I like him.
He's in it for a little bit.
He's in it for a little bit.
Yeah. So it's hard to. It's not that hard to synopsisize this one because it is basically the same thing we've seen in that first 10 minutes of the second movie.
What this movie does, which is interesting, is like I mentioned, she's in hospice. So in all these movies and in any monster movie, it's I need to survive.
Right.
She doesn't have that.
Doesn't
you take
care.
that out of the equation, and it's just like this slice of life. That what am I going to do with the last remaining days of my life?
Right.
And
You're gonna get pizza.
You're gonna get pizza.
well,
That's
the journey.
You know, and I think that idea I like. Like I like the idea where she's like, man, this is coming to an end. I'm coming to an end. The last thing I want to do is
Get some carbs.
Get some carbs. Call it a day.
I do too. That's what I mean. So like we got to see a different, and that's why I like following her. The other guy don't really care about, but with her, it's like wow.
I think they worked like when they were.
Yeah.
I liked their chemistry together. Where again, you could read it both ways. Where he's attracted to her, but at the same time, he's kind of wants to get her where he knows what is on the other side for her, so he wants to help. You know, they're both stuck in this awful situation. It's the last thing that he can do to help, not exactly ease her pain, but to give her this one last thing. The scene that drove me insane is the scene where all of the people are just, it's like something out of a zombie movie where they're all clumped together, walking forward.
That
I was
was
like,
weird.
You're all going to die.
Yeah,
every single one of you.
I didn't really get that because when they were all walking on, I'm like, oh, they know something. It's safe. Like they're all going to whatever.
No way.
And
there's no way I would if this type of situation ever happens. I'm just gonna wait it out. Like I'm not gonna stand in a crowd of people waiting for.
It's like an active shooter drill. You don't want to be with a big clump of people because that's a target-rich environment.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, but I couldn't help but think I was sitting there just cataloging like people who would struggle in this new environment.
Yes,
like the chronically flatulent.
Yes,
the
worst
people with hiccups.
They wouldn't last long.
People who chew with their mouth open.
Well, they deserve it.
Yeah,
podcasters.
Oh no.
Yeah, social media influencers. Hey, I'm here with the alien.
You know that would happen.
See, that's a good comedic beat in a horror movie, though.
Yes,
it would be very good.
But it looked like at least a New York City block of people. All it takes is one idiot to trip on a rock.
Right,
you're all dead. Like that.
Well, that's the whole point of like when Lupita Nyong'o's character is being followed around by this Eddie character, and it's like, what do you do? Like, no, I don't want you stumbling around.
His name's not Eddie.
What?
He's Eddie Munson in Stranger Things.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
That's how I'm referring to him. His name's Eric in this, if you want.
Well, that's okay. It's close enough.
So it's just like, yeah, leave me alone. Like I'm trying to not screw this up. The last thing I want to do.
Right. I did with that character though. I did get the vibe that he had like a panic disorder. so he comes out of the water.
I feel like during an alien invasion, we would all.
Yeah, it's
have
hard to
I
read.
think-
It's hard to
well,
get
I
a
just
read
mean
on
like
that.
I don't
when
know,
he.
that's a medical condition. At
It's
that
not.
Point.
I mean,
It's
it
just,
could be, but-
It's just a good idea.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This is the time that anxiety would be a
called
good
fight or
idea.
flight.
Right.
Yeah.
But he comes out when we're introduced to him. He comes up out of the water and he has like this.
Like Halle Berry and
What?
Living Daylights or Living
Oh,
Let Die.
I was like, no,
It's
what was the?
Daniel Craig and Casino Royale.
Yeah,
walking out of the water.
right. She does do that in that movie. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And then she shows her boobs in Swordfish.
Swordfish. They paid her like $2 million.
Yeah, a boob.
Oh, one
That's
for
$1
each?
million boob.
Yeah, right. And he sees this cat that Lupita Nyong'o's character has had the entire time, which
That's why I think he follows her. It's like a sign, right? He comes out of the water and he sees
Could
the cat,
be.
and then he does follow the cat to her, and then I feel like he sticks with her because he's like, it was a sign to I should be following her and
right,
the cat.
right.
I just took it as like she knows this town and I don't.
Sure.
Also possible.
Yeah.
But like, at one point he even has a panic attack when they have to go back into the water and she has to like calm him down. So I'm just wondering if there was supposed to be something in his character that made this world even harder for him because he's gonna have to do stuff that maybe he freaks out about.
I guess just the fish out of water thing, I mean, he's there for school. He doesn't know the lay of the land, and
Right.
he's just, it's all new to him. And then an alien invasion's very new. I didn't really get when he came out of the water at first what he was doing. Was he just hiding? I was a little confused.
I thought
about-
maybe he got stuck. I guess hiding is possible.
It was just weird the way he bursted out of the water. It was a weird introduction to a character because I'm like, was he holding his breath as long as possible, to avoid whatever? Like, what was that?
Yeah, but then he made all kinds of noise coming out of that water.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't understand that, but that was his introduction.
I guess he was hiding because they can't swim.
They can't. Well, they can.
But would he have known that yet? I mean,
I don't know how much they were saying on that chopper.
That's true.
Yeah,
We also get a interesting cameo from Djimon Hounsou.
yeah.
He's like the leader of the
Djimon Hounsou.
Djimon Hounsou. He's like the leader of the village in the second movie.
Yeah, it was a
that
weird
Cillian
cameo.
Murphy screws up.
Killian, yeah. It's a weird cameo because, I mean, he's a big actor and he's always great in stuff he shows up in. I mean, as far as I know, I haven't seen Rebel Moon Part 1 or Part 2. But he's
Part 1's real bad.
He's a great actor, and I thought it was kind of a waste. I mean, yeah, it's a cameo because he shows up in the next one like it's a
Right.
tie-in. But, he has a moment when they're all in the theater trying to stay safe and he's trying to protect his son and someone's blabbing and he has to kind of knock him out.
Right.
And his son sees that and then
He doesn't
runs
knock
away.
him out. He kills that guy.
I couldn't tell. I mean, he hit him and maybe hit his head. I don't know if we don't see him dead, but yeah, he's not.
I
dead.
took it as he killed him.
He killed
Really?
that guy.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd have tossed that guy off the top of that roof.
Yeah.
Like, shut up.
But it's
Like
just.
Alan Alda with a chicken, the last episode of MASH.
That's right.
But
Excellent callback.
It,
Thank you.
to me, unless it's something I forget from part 2, that never really pays off. Like they kind of built him up, and I thought we'd maybe follow him more throughout the movie. But then he's
But then he's on the boat and that's
gone
the
until
last
the
time.
end, right?
The
Yeah.
only thing I can think is that he adds, or making him a character from part 2 adds, is that it kind of cements for the viewer that boat is a path to safety,
Okay.
Oh, that's fair.
right? Like you know,
they make it to that island.
wherever he's going,
They're going to be
is
okay.
the right choice to make.
That's fair.
So what happens to
That's
Eric?
a great question.
What happens to Eric between 2 and
2 and
well,
1 and 2, 1 and 3, or 2
part-
and 3.
Day 1 and 2.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because
He gets the hiccups.
there you go.
he
and he's
came,
done.
walked on land and they farted,
Yeah.
and that was it.
So we already said it. Lupita Nyong'o's in hospice, and they go out for a day to he's like, go to a show. It ends up being a puppet show.
Right,
And she's like, I was tricked. into
Yeah,
this.
she's like, yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah. She's only
See,
going.
I like their relationship. That's the chemistry in the relationship.
Yeah, I liked her
the
poem.
friendship. None of it's romantic.
No, it's
but
yeah.
but Ruben, the nurse nurse.
Mm-hmm.
She says he's the nurse there at the hospice. Like they had a fun, playful dynamic. I liked that a
Yeah.
lot. And I don't know. I just thought.
But
they
I
were
liked
really
I liked her poem.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yep.
this
Oh, it
pla-
was hilarious.
This place
Right.
smells like this place is, when Derek does his walk when he poops his pants and he's like, man, that was
hilarious.
That was a vulgar.
He's like, thank you.
But she's like I think she knows when they're going to that show that she doesn't have much time left.
sure.
So she wants to get this pizza from this one spot, and we find out the reason she wants to go to this one spot, it's the place that her dad would go.
Her dad from Pixar's Soul. right?
Yes.
It's a
Joe
deaf soul.
Gardner.
It's a shared universe.
It's a big unit. Yes.
And the cat is voiced by Tina Fey.
That's correct.
Okay.
I was going to say Alan Tudyk.
Okay.
But yeah. So this pizza place is this place she went to with her dad when her dad would play piano at this jazz club, and it's this big deal. While they're at the show, she has a moment where she's like, I gotta get, she has like a
balloon pops and she gets panicked.
She gets freaked out.
Yeah.
And she goes outside and she goes, I did like this line where she walks into like a bodega and there's a cat sitting there and the
That's
guy's
funny.
the guy's
Can't have
like,
a cat in here.
and she just like points at the other one and the guy's like, that's fair.
Was that cat real? Because that is the most realistic.
I was wondering the same thing if the cat was digital.
It's either
I think
the best trained cat of all time or the most realistic CG of all time, because
I think the cat is real in some parts.
yeah, like on a leash walking around, like that is a well-trained cat. That was the other thing that kind of bothered me. And I know he's a service cat, so I guess as much as you can train a cat, which really isn't that much, but he's the quietest cat. I've never known a cat that doesn't make a noise.
Yeah.
He's like, hey man, those things are crazy.
Right?
I gotta be
But
quiet.
the plot armor on the cat was a little much.
Even when he gets dunked in water.
Yes.
I mean, he's just so quiet, and it's like my cat would be. I mean, my cat wants to be fed. He's meowing. He wants, also, I have to ask a service cat. Cats go to the bathroom in litter boxes, and I don't know how much training can possibly be done on these service cats.
They use toilets.
But you bring them into buildings, and like if they have to go, they really hold it until you bring them out. It's like. I don't know. It's just a weird thing that like I had to think of all this because it's new information.
She does take that cat everywhere.
Right. Like there's no like, here, let me leave you outside. It's like, no, in the buildings and whatever.
Right.
Anyway, I like the moments and I like the stuff involving the cat, but I just thought logistically, like, how do you
smart.
bring him into places and then, he's got to go to the bathroom? Like they go in boxes. So where do they go to the...
She just catches it. Yeah, I'll put that over there.
Anyway, but the cat being perfectly quiet, I even just like move, like cats don't know to be so quiet.
No, I think there are definitely quiet cats,
Yeah.
but I don't think that they
throughout the whole film to be
doesn't
quiet
make a
enough
single
to not,
noise. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's
you
fair.
don't step
That's
on
fair.
a leaf or something. I don't know, but it was a little silly to me. But
Yeah. So they're leaving she leaves the bodega and Alex Wolff is outside and he's on the phone. He was like, nope, that's fine. Like we'll bring him back right now. And she's like,
when he promised her, if she goes, they
get pizza. And he said, and it's, this is the part where I was like, you're kind of a dick. Where he's like, hey, we have to take a rain check on something is happening.
Which one? Lupita?
Yeah, a little bit.
Samira?
Yes, a little bit. Where he says, look, and you could already in the city, things are starting to happen, right? You can hear the sirens going off. You can see people kind of scurrying all over. And when Alex Wolff says, hey, we gotta go, she's like, no. And it's like, I mean,
well,
maybe
first of all, she doesn't give a what's going on.
That's true. I can
and
appreciate
she doesn't
that.
have much time left, so she doesn't care.
Also,
she's not trying to be a dick, but like this is important to her. She wants one last taste of pizza that she got with her dad before she dies, and if she goes back, she knows she'll probably never get it. So
which is fine, but also maybe use some context clues.
Yeah.
There's something happening, right? Like you'd think that in New York, post 9/11. When sirens start going off and people start running, maybe don't get the pizza.
Yeah, I think it just makes her human. It's just, again, she's not thinking about all that. She's thinking for the stuff we mentioned. It's just, but I get it. I know what you mean, because like I felt bad for Rube, and I'm like, he's clearly trying to take care of them, and he's not trying to be
he even
mean.
says, he's like, I'm your friend. She's like, you're not my friend.
Right.
It's like,
and that's,
all right.
that's one of the last things she says to him.
No. Oh,
well,
because
word wise,
they
don't
that's
ever
fair.
talk.
That's
what I mean?
fair.
I do think that eats on her.
Yeah.
Spoilers because he dies, but that's one of the last things she ever says. And he does care about her as a friend, and like it was mean, but people say mean things, especially when, again, she's not thinking of whatever else. She's thinking of I don't have time left. You know, and this drives her throughout the entire film about her getting this last slice.
Exactly. So the camera pans up and we see the meteors or ships or whatever kind of crashing into.
I took them as like asteroids. They traveled in asteroids, I guess. Because I don't think they were driving ships. They don't seem that sophisticated.
It was definitely
because they're like alien monsters.
Yeah, it's like Starship
I
Troopers.
I don't think they're piloting ships. I think
that would
like,
be show me that movie where these things are like.
I want to see this from the point of view of they're the good guys and they're just trying to save their families.
Well,
they're like, we're walking up to these people and they're yelling at us and they're so loud. We have to like just like Djimon, we have to take them out. They're being so loud. code.
They all have like sensory processing disorders.
Correct.
They're autism aliens.
I mean, we've seen that before.
Yeah.
Shane Black, thank you very much.
Their hearing
Autism
aid is turned up to 10, and like it really hurts their ears, and they're worried their baby aliens are gonna lose their hearing.
This is the first time. Speaking of that, this is the first time we see them eat.
I don't get what that is. That pod thing.
I don't know.
Did it come with the asteroids?
That's
like
what I
nutrients that came. Because it is a weird, like, alien pod.
Yeah,
Like,
they crack it open and they
and then
start eating it.
Yeah.
And I was like, but you're eating people.
We're not supposed to. Do they eat people as, like, sustenance, or are they eating people to, like, just.
Are they actually eating people, though?
That's right. Are they just killing them? Because they
people.
kind of leave them about.
Yeah, that's true.
And so maybe that is one thing that they kind of answer but don't focus on, is that there's a way that they actually feed. But do they, like, kill people and then put them in a cocoon, and then it's like a gelatinous.
What is this? Killer clowns from outer space? What are we
They
talking
turn
about?
into aliens.
I don't know, but and that's kind of what I would have liked to have gotten a little more background on. But you're right. It's the first time I think we've ever actually seen them eat, not kill, but eat.
But one of the things I did want to touch on is we're doing 2 trilogies back to back. So next week we're doing Maxine.
Yeah.
Spoilers. That it almost does exactly what you were talking about, where you get that first movie in X, then you get the backstory for Pearl in Pearl, and then you're going to get the finale with Maxine. So they're giving you kind of what you're asking for in these movies, but Ty West is like, I got it. I'll do it. It's going to be really gross and gory, but I'll tell you what you want to tell you.
But no aliens.
That
we know of.
Correct. Though Ty West, you never know. You have no idea what's going to happen. Yeah, so now all hell's breaking loose. People are screaming. The aliens are taking everybody out left and right. There's an explosion, and she ends up waking up back in the theater.
Mm-hmm. They bring her back in. Djimon finds her and brings her in and like carries her into the auditorium.
And we see that Ruben is there, and some of the other people are there.
And he's got the cat, or like someone was holding the cat, and he brings her the cat, and she's like, that's her only family, so she's really happy that the cat's there.
Right. And she, the entire time, she's got these I'm assuming it's fentanyl patches.
Fentanyl, yeah.
It says fentanyl.
Which is like, oh boy, I don't know. As somebody that works in law enforcement, they make a big deal out of fentanyl.
Yeah.
Like if you get a little bit on you, like you're in trouble. Like that's. There's
a video I should send you because
it's not entirely true.
There's actually some more news that has been like heavily politicized.
Yes,
because they're trying to say people are crossing the border bringing
correct.
Fentanyl. So
I think
there's a whole episode about that. It really is not what they're making it into.
You beat me to it.
Okay,
I do think that it is highly dangerous.
Sure,
I don't think that if you get a little bit on your fingertip and you're gonna
if you do too much of it, it's very strong. So it is dangerous, but not to like. Yeah, like you said, like just
one molecule.
You look at it,
if you breathe some in, you're going to be high.
It's not hot sauce.
No. So she's now these patches. She put one on before we left, but now this one has worn off, and she's in trouble because they don't say it's just generic cancer. I don't really say what it is.
She's in pain.
It's movie cancer.
Cancer. Yeah. It's Krasinski again.
But she's in pain.
She's in pain.
She
it
does need
it's
these
a broken
patches.
heart.
That's exactly right. And it's initially she's okay.
Here's what I want. I want a Krasinski shared universe where A Quiet Place happens, but instead of the aliens, it's all the fuzzy creatures from If. How about that?
But it's like a horror movie.
Yeah.
Yes. And Ryan Reynolds is the boss.
It's all the imaginary friends.
Oh man, just tearing people apart,
killing people.
And Ryan Reynolds is the evil clown.
That's exactly.
He's Pennywise.
Yeah, I was just speaking of him real quick. Did you see?
He'll call him like Nickel Smart.
Nickel Smart, yeah. Did you see the T.J. Miller thing? Have you seen this recently? Where he was like, I don't know, man. Like he just seems like such an insecure guy.
That's
I don't
exactly
really think
what
I want to
someone
work
who's
with him.
canceled and can't get any work would say.
What? What do you're not going to work with him anymore?
Yeah.
Okay, bud. Yeah. Whatever you say.
That was on the table.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I retweeted something and I used the GIF of David Spade where he's like, look, everyone, a falling star. It's becoming a paint by numbers at this point where your protagonists are trying to get to wherever they're trying to get to. They end up in this, I guess it wasn't the theater. They were somewhere else and the power goes out completely. And this generator kicks on and it's very loud. And in my head, I was like,
I think that was at the theater.
It was
because they were all at the theater.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, don't go outside. Wait, leave it
Well,
alone.
that was going to draw them in. I mean, Ruben, it does something very heroic as he realizes that, well, if he doesn't do it, they're going to come and kill everyone.
Right.
And so hopefully he can stop it in time. And he does turn it off and it seems safe, but then he walks away and he snags his shirt. And that ripping sound with the silence, now there's nothing,
Right.
and you hear the shrieks or whatever, and then he's gone.
Gone.
Like a train,
Yeah,
blowing
I
by.
mean, kind of. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He just disappears.
Yeah.
Can we talk for a minute about how many people were at the puppet show? That
There were a lot.
Seems like the writers of this movie are really
Old.
are really misgauging the demand.
I
for
could see
puppet shows.
I could see it being like
know
a
what?
school.
Do you know how much rent in New York
That's
City is?
fair.
This
That's
is in-
fair.
This is in Midtown Manhattan, and they're sustaining a business model based entirely on marionettes.
Oh, I think
Like,
I think he was just playing at that theater. I don't think it's a full time. I think it was like
you're not wrong,
It was like a
Tom.
touring. Like he was at that theater for some shows.
Oh, so puppet shows are so popular that they now can tour America.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I think he was. I think he was
play
booked. I don't think it was a
off-Broadway.
puppet.
They can play off
auditorium.
Broadway.
Yeah.
In New York.
Yeah, I think it was just a one day only engagement. I don't think because it didn't say like
But
Marion.
it was a matinee.
yeah.
Which means there's another
Which
show
means
coming.
there's at least two shows after.
Yeah, that's but like because they get to the theater and she knows that they're going to a theater and like she doesn't know it's a puppet show, but then the marquee says puppet show or whatever,
Yeah,
and then
right,
she's
right,
like,
right.
okay.
This is the same puppet show that Spinal Tap opened for. I don't know if you know that.
It is. I did think that. I was like, oh, maybe it's just like, sometimes there's those shows like a circus or something where it's
Yeah.
like we have one show that is just dedicated to schools, right? And they
This one's just dedicated to hospice. Hospice patients.
hospice
The-
and one family.
the healthiest hospice I've ever seen in my life. I was unaware that hospice facilities had field trips.
I agreed.
Like, I'm
what is
like-
this, the dream team? Like, what are we
I
doing?
was like, these people are awfully healthy for being in hospice. Maybe the
I think you
puppet,
may have jumped the gun with hospice.
maybe the puppet show is to hasten their demise.
Yeah, so like,
Because you're
come
just like,
on.
oh my God, I'd rather.
I would
please-
rather die.
Please, I am longing for the sweet release of
I know.
death.
The
Get
whole-
me
Come and
out
take
of
me
here from
Yes.
this puppet show.
The whole contrivance.
Can you unplug my oxygen machine, please?
The whole thing to get them into the city to watch a puppet show is a little bit
I
ridiculous.
mean, I think they could have done something besides
Go to a
puppet show.
movie.
Right?
Right.
Good.
Anything else?
Anything other than or a Broadway show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I did think it was neat how the puppet blew up the balloon. Don't know how it did that.
That was the best special effect.
That was, I mean, because it's like
movie.
wooden and the puppeteer's up top, and so
Yeah.
somehow down low where the puppet is, and a balloon inflated. I'd like to know how they did that.
Do you remember puppetry of the penis? Do you remember when that was a thing?
What?
You don't remember this?
No.
This was a thing that was going around. There was on HBO once or twice. It was called Puppetry of the Penis.
Okay.
And it was these two guys that would like whip out their dicks and then they would like make like balloon animals but with their dicks. They would like twist them around and like
What, like a
You're like,
helicopter?
kinda-
How big were their dicks?
I mean I mean
Well, you
they
don't
seem
get into
like,
that business with a grower. I mean,
They seem
Yeah,
like
yeah.
normal
Well,
size.
You need to be a grower if you're. Well, I guess
Peanut.
you
No,
can't.
'cause
yeah,
you
you better
gotta
be a shower.
manipulate it,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
And so they would
I don't know if I'd ever want my
The
dick
only thing I
tied
can
in a knot.
remember that they did was they took their penis and they threaded it between their testicles and then flipped it sideways and they called it the hamburger.
I mean, I've seen Waiting, so I've seen like the Batwing
Batwing,
and the Goblin and all that
Oh
stuff.
my god!
But yes, puppetry of the penis.
The goat.
It's a thing.
Okay.
It's a. Yeah.
I don't know why it didn't last longer.
Yeah.
So there's some close calls. The cat goes up to the door to like try to get out. Maybe it was asking to go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
That's
I was
gonna be
like,
my
"Get me
guess."
outta here.
And then the alien stops and like busts down the door and
There's the other where they're trying to get into a building and there's a like a briefcase gets stuck in the spinning
Oh, yeah.
doors and they have to. At this point, our two main characters are together. This is where, which I did think was weird, where they go to this apartment building
her apartment.
and he's just like, and he goes, "Is this your apartment?" She's like, "Yeah," And I was like, well,
I think she was
maybe.
going in to get her medicine.
She was, but I did think it was very weird where she was just like, in my head, I was like, where's your keys?
I'm guessing she just didn't have all this, like her bag or
But
whatever,
if she's
or
in
it was back at the hospice.
But if she's in hospice, who's watching that place?
Who's watching her apartment?
Yeah.
No one at the moment.
Oh, there it is.
It was a live show.
Oh.
Well, yeah. How else are you gonna do it?
Well, I thought you were saying it was like an HBO, like a.
Well, they
show.
filmed the stage show.
Oh, I didn't know it was a. Geez.
It was a stage show.
Okay.
Here's their playbill
For $8.
You can get the DVD on eBay for $15.99.
Oh, you enjoy that.
While
Look
these
out.
two guys twist their
Pretty sure I could find it online for free.
Johnsons around.
But so basically he starts tagging along, and
Yeah.
she's like, "Get out of here! I don't want you to get in my way." Her and her cat are going to enjoy a pizza on her last day, and so he's just keeps following her, and honestly, it's like, take a hint, buddy. It's a little,
Yeah, it is a little creepy.
because
It is a
he's
little
just
creepy.
the man following her, and she is like, go, and he's not doing it.
They get to this place and we find that she was a poet and
Didn't know it.
didn't know it.
but
We
her
know
feet
it.
showed it.
She read that. She did that poem
His
in the
penis
beginning.
showed it.
Yeah.
It was a grower.
Wrapped it around.
We should say
threw it
they-
over his shoulder like a continental soldier.
They did the thing that we compliment movies on, is that they didn't have to make the male-female dynamic a sexual or
No.
romantic relationship.
But then when it's a black and a white person, then you go down the road of like, well,
Why didn't
not-
you?
Are they not doing it because they're not the same race?
I don't think, but at least to me, I never thought that. I think in 2024,
I
like
tend
we're
to
just
agree.
so far past that it was just a nice thing that it's like it doesn't have to be that way, right? You're with these two characters telling this big invasion story. You have a limited amount of time. Don't bog it down with
Right.
oh well, because it's a man and a
Well,
woman.
you could.
they've gotta-
I think that there's something there, right? Like I think
you could read into it.
I think that I
you know.
think the way, there's one point where he's having a panic attack, but you can read it as she was kind of using her body or her heartbeat or her breath
Yeah.
to kind of regulate him.
Yeah, because they never kissed them.
They
They
don't,
never embrace
no,
like
no.
that. Like, to me, at least, I did not read once romantic. You could read it whatever way, but like, it's not part of the plot. It's not
No,
part of the story. It
not
never
at all.
comes down to.
It's not
oh,
like
but I
I'm going to
loved her.
sacrifice. Well, she does sacrifice
Yeah.
herself for him, but
But
that's
it's
only
like, but that's
because
what she has left. She has
Right.
such middle time left. It's
Right.
like
Might as
that's
well.
purpose. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like if I can do something to help someone,
I'm going to do
and
it.
really, it's like take care of my cat too.
Yeah, right.
Right. So
Right. Now they're on this journey. We find out that she is going to die. We
this
find
is
out
like the
about her.
road, but like
It is kind
for-
of like the
for
road. Yeah.
Pizza.
Right. It's the long walk. Again, now we're paint by numbers. Now they're trying to avoid the aliens. They're trying to do whatever.
I think you've said it before, and I think that's a good way to put it, paint by numbers. In the first two Quiet Place movies, I cared about the characters more so, and I liked Lupita again, but didn't really care about the other guy. Didn't really care about the journey as much.
The journey wasn't...
So it just, every scene seemed like the same thing. Let's
Yeah.
be really quiet. In the first one, I think because you cared about these characters and you were learning, like each time you learned a little bit more about the aliens and society and all that. So in this one,
You also had the element of you got to see how they live their day-to-day lives.
Correct.
And so that was interesting to see. How
Yeah.
do you go about living your life when you can't make
Well, they also
Exactly.
they put those characters in the first two in almost impossible situations, right?
Yeah.
You've got the scene where Emily Blunt is giving birth to a
pregnant, has to
child.
get- right.
Right.
It's
You know?
super interesting. Exactly.
She
Like,
steps on a nail.
Yes.
And then once you have a baby, how do you tell a baby to
Shut up.
yeah, and it's like, okay, we built this little whatever it was. A
It was
refrigerator,
like no, it was
coffin,
like
what was
it was like a chest that they
Right.
had with like pumping. They had an oxygen
Yeah,
mask for
exactly.
the kid, and
So that's what I'm saying. So every scene after scene was like, oh, this is interesting. It
Yeah.
answers a question. And this one, although it was decently entertaining, but every scene of we got here, let's be quiet. Oh, they heard us, let's run.
well, we also
it just like
as an
every
audience
scene was the
member, we
same.
know the rules.
right.
We know the rule. Like, there's nothing. They would have to do something new where you're like, oh, they didn't do that in the first
Right,
two.
which is why I was saying I wish we would have learned something
Sure.
to make it a little more interesting. So to me, after a couple of these scenarios, it kind of felt like, oh, we've already seen this.
right,
It
and
just was
that's kind of
repetitive.
where we are,
Yeah.
right? So they end up. I think she breaks away at one point, and she finds that they're in Harlem. She finds the pizza place, but it has burned down, and she's kind of heartbroken about that because this is never. This whole trip was for naught. He hooks back up with her. They end up going to the jazz club, and they have this.
Well, there's a pretty intense scene, and this is where we see what they feed off of. I
Oh,
think
yeah,
we
yeah,
should
yeah.
mention that basically the cat runs away. It runs away several times. Early on, they find the kids in the fountain, like you said, and we've learned
You know
from
those
the
kids
first
are
one.
dead.
Well, yeah, it's
Like there's no.
after that one. Well, no, because they went with the crowd. Yeah,
And it wasn't just a kid.
We don't
like,
see him
there
on
was
the boat or anything.
No,
you don't think? Okay.
There it was like a 13, 14-year-old and like a 3-year-old, and that kid is dead.
Okay.
There's
It
no
would have been interesting
way.
to show them on the boat to be like, oh, they survived.
Nope.
Okay. But anyway, we see the waterfall thing basically being recreated, which was cool. She gives them a candy bar from the bodega and sends them with the crowd of people that are off to fodder for the...
She murdered children.
But they would have died in that fountain either way.
No, they wouldn't have, though, because the things wouldn't hear them.
No, they couldn't eat.
Well, that's true.
She brought them a
that's right.
candy
You're
bar,
right,
but
you're
other
right.
Hopefully it
than
wasn't
that...
a Twix.
Why is that?
Well, because they crunch when you bite into them.
correct.
You can't. You'd have to be like a Three Musketeers.
Or a mound. You could eat a mound.
Maybe $100,000 bar because they're chewy. They're not
Those are
really
gross.
crunchy.
Yeah,
Oh,
Three
I like
Musketeers is probably the
those.
way
I think
to
Three
go.
Musketeers. You can't do
Milky Way.
like
Milky Way is the same, yeah.
Yeah,
Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah.
Let's just name
Reese's
candies.
peanut butter cups would be good.
Yeah, because they're the best.
You know what? They're better though when they're in Christmas tree form for some reason.
Oh, I like them when they're in the shape of bats.
Oh, for Halloween,
Yeah, or pumpkins, I guess.
But pumpkins. That for some reason the holiday ones, Easter eggs. I don't know why.
'Cause you get more of
softer,
it.
but they're like softer too.
Yeah.
the peanut butter cup has a little bit of a harder
It's
shell.
got some bite. That's
and
a little snap to it.
so
the
they
trees
need,
have more peanut butter.
yeah, they have more
That's
peanut,
exactly
yeah, they have
right.
more peanut
Yeah.
butter, and they're softer. They don't have that hard exterior. So that's what they need. They needed trees or Easter egg
Or hearts.
or hearts.
Yeah, all of the
If
above.
only this had happened at Christmas.
Christmas, Easter, Valentine's
You know what?
Day.
I actually saw Madam Web watching It's a Wonderful Life up in one of the apartment buildings.
Oh, so the upside is that the entire cast
Yes,
of Madam
yeah,
Web died.
right. They
So,
killed off the Spider-Verse
I'm giving
in
this
one
movie
movie.
an
Congratulations,
extra star.
Sony. 6 stars.
So he goes to like this fiery, is it like a construction zone? It looks like they're in
Yeah.
the place from
Yeah.
Star Wars. They're like in some like fiery lava construction zone, but
Yeah.
all the aliens start convening there, and we
And
see
eating
this
these
pod
things.
burst open. It looked like an alien egg.
It
Pod
looked like
to
a
me.
pumpkin is what it looked like.
but yeah, like it bursts open and they're eating out of it, and so that was interesting to like be like, what the hell?
Right.
But anyway, the cat is like up in the rafters and he has to go save it, and there's some close calls.
It was a good. Actually, that was a good jump scare. Is when Eric is like on a girder and he's got the cat, and then the thing's head just kind of pops up,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, that's pretty good. That was pretty good. I like that.
I just think it's really weird that anyone who's not a main character, if those things get close to you, they can sense your breathing. I mean, remember, they're super sensitive, right? So
I
like,
think if nothing else, it could hear your heartbeat.
anything.
And I feel like they kind of played on that because that scene is quiet, and then you do hear like a sound on the girder that I thought was supposed to be because he's like he's hugging it basically, and I thought it was like his heartbeat on like kind of making a sound, which is kind of impossible, but like off the girder.
Either way, the point is that these things get right up next to every main character and do not detect them, but yet they have this supersonic hearing, and that's where the inconsistency comes in.
Right.
Like, they shouldn't get that close unless they get distracted by something, which does happen at some points in the movie. I get that, like, it's the typical, they're right there, but then, clink, someone kicked a can and then they went after that or whatever. But man, they get right up in Ruben's face at the theater. They get right up in his face at that beam, and it's like, come on, dude, the thing has to know
Right, he's
there.
gonna eat your face.
But anyway, so he saves the cat, gets back to
They go back to they're in the jazz club,
scenario.
and which I thought was a very cute scene, where he
was.
does find a pizza and he writes on. It's not from Patsy's, but he writes on the
writes on
box
there, yeah.
Patsy's.
That noise of him writing would have made more noise.
Probably.
They make him go squeak, 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 and like, it's just, you can't do that. Yes, it's cute, but don't even add those
But
sound effects.
I liked
like,
her reaction, where he's like, "Man, it's good." She's like, "That's all right. It's fine."
But they
Cold-ass
They
pizza.
can't talk, but they can go squeak, squeak, squeak.
Right,
like,
you can hear the ice cubes in the glass like clink around
yeah,
the glass.
I don't know. It's like, you can't do that. One
Well,
or the other,
they
you know?
do. They make it such a point in 1 and 2 that, I mean, they walk around. They have like they had like a path, like from their house to wherever, where they could walk
Sand.
without shoes on, so
Yeah.
they didn't
Yeah.
make any sound. So it's like, when you're establishing those rules,
Yes.
you kind of have to stick to them
Right.
a little bit. And I can give a little bit of leeway because Krasinski and his family had been in this world for a little bit.
Yeah.
So like they could, with the lights and like, when the lights turn red, get down to the basement, things like that.
I give leeway to the characters knowing. I don't give leeway to the aliens not knowing.
Agreed.
Because they operate the same. They're the same aliens.
Right.
So
Right.
Again, I'm not trying to nitpick, but when you establish the rules, like you said, I feel like you have to
So are
play
we
by
saying
them.
that the time from day one to the Krasinski stuff,
400? It's over a year. 400.
I was going to say because she has a baby,
They
so
say
it's got to be
day 465 or whatever.
Okay.
So it's like a year and a third, year and a half, whatever.
Okay, I was going to say because she's pregnant, she has that
Yeah.
baby. So,
What else are you gonna do? Got to be quiet though.
that's tough.
Yeah.
They have this pizza, and then
It's a cute scene. I think it's the cutest
Yeah.
scene between those two. He does like
He
a
does like
magic
a magic show, yeah.
and performs for her, and then
I think they see the boat and they realize, oh, you can get out of here. We're still okay to get out of here.
Yeah, they do. I don't know. It's doing its toot toot or whatever, and they look out and they see the
Doing the old toot toot.
it's whatever. It's like it's making noise, but the aliens. Oh man, when we get to the end, I've got another complaint. But anyway,
So they take off, and Lupita Nyong'o is just like, you take the sweater, which we find out was her dad's sweater. You take this cat, and we'll get you. And then she starts breaking glass, which is kind of what Krasinski does in the first one.
shattering cars, setting alarms off,
And
that
he
kind of thing.
jumps in the water and starts swimming. And a Djimon Hounsou.
Djimon Hounsou.
I like the way I said it. He is kind of this badass character in the second movie. In this one, he's just like, oh, there he is again. Yeah. But then he somehow he
killed the dude for being too loud.
That's
so
true. That's a good point. That's totally fair. He hears all the alarms going off, and he's like, "Stop the boat!" And one guy, you're to stop the boat for one guy.
I gotta say, I think that would say, no.
I can appreciate trying to save a life, but
you don't stop a whole boat going.
There looked to be about 400 people
all
on that boat,
and they're like surrounding it. They're kind of like, "Can we swim? Can we get?" Like they're all surrounding on the shore, and then he's gonna say, "Stop." Okay, I don't think that would ever happen. Here's the other problem. So she's setting off all the alarms. He's making a run for it. He ends up making some noise, and they're chasing after him. So there's like this close call where he runs and jumps off the dock. So you're telling me these things are all stampeding, chasing after a guy, and they're blind, but they stop at the edge of the dock?
That's a good point.
Why did they all stop? And then I asked Ryan, he's like, oh, well, they could hear the water. But I'm like, there's all this commotion.
But there is no,
and
the
they're running.
but the water's not moving.
They use sonar, right? Like, because they're making those clicking noises. So, there's nothing for it to bounce back off of the water. So
I guess
it's
that's
going to sound
true.
different over water.
But
sonar
how do they know to get to the edge of the dock? They stopped right at the edge, like as if someone was walking up to it, like, whoa, we're going to get in the water. How is it that close? They're chasing after him and they can't see. I thought that was
okay, so I think the better part of
they
that
should
scene
fall
is
off
they
into
fall
the water.
off into the water.
Yeah, that's
at
what I'm
least
saying.
one of them,
Yeah.
and that clues the rest
They
of
all
them
put
in.
on the skids like a skater. They all went like,
like a bunch of Looney Tunes.
and I'm like, how?
Right,
they
right.
can't see.
No,
and they were
they can't
chasing
see.
him. They should have fallen up. I don't know. That was very silly to me.
So Eric gets on the boat and he survives and he's got the cat and everybody's happy. We go back to Lupita Nyong'o and I did appreciate that they gave her an old ass iPod. I was like, hey man, I've got one of those still. So
so if you think about it, the first movie came out in 2018, and that was day 400 or something.
Sure.
And so if you go back in time, I think if you go back, I guess some of those iPods would have been more likely to be in use, right?
for sure.
Yeah.
Especially those, the one that I have
It's
is
called an iPod Nano.
well, there were two. She had,
2005 it debuted.
I think it could still be in use for sure.
Okay. It's pretty old, but
it is old, but I think a lot of people use those for workouts and stuff. And that thing is literally this. It's
For sure.
tiny.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility.
Right.
And that was the first gen was 2005, so you think 2006, 7, 8, third,
They
fifth
turn into
gen.
iPod touches and then
Yeah.
I have like an iPod brick that's like 100 and this is how big it was. Like, it's 100.
those ones go for big money now.
I've got one full
You
of
can sell those
stuff.
for hundreds because people love them. They fit so much. You can watch your iTunes movies and stuff.
Can you?
Yeah.
You can watch a movie on that thing?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
So wait, Christopher Nolan wanted you to watch Oppenheimer.
I know because
on the screen that's like that.
when Katie and I took our first trip to Disney, I think it was either because did we take the train to Chicago? That was later. I think it was a plane to Disney, and she brought her iPod and she had The Emperor's New Groove
On her
downloaded
iPod?
on her iPod.
That's wild.
Classic, yeah.
Okay, I've got one.
Yeah.
It's like 160 gigs. It's full of. I don't know.
And you can hack them and put bigger hard drives in there.
Oh,
and
really?
all that, yeah.
Oh, maybe I'll sell that.
But they go for big money for sure.
Okay, good to know.
Yep.
I just found it. It's amazing what happens when you have to move into a new place. It's like, I find all kinds of shit.
So, he makes it, and the last scene of the movie is her.
Yeah, she has like
going out on her own terms.
Yes, she unplugs her earbuds and turns on Michael Bublé. I think that's what it was. I don't know. And I did like this scene.
No, it was the original. It's not his cover. It's
is it the original?
Nina Simone's.
Okay.
Yeah. Feeling good.
I did like this scene where she unplugs it. She stands there for a second, and you see one of them kind of crawl down a building, and then it's credits. And I was like, I like that. I like
it
that.
It lands behind her on the street.
Does it?
You see it land behind her.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay. But I was like, okay, I like that. Like we know what's going to happen. We don't need to see this character get mauled to death.
No.
But we get it.
But she was going to die, and she didn't want to be in pain anymore. She's probably out of those pain patches, right? So she just goes out on her own terms.
And when he went to get the pain patches, I was like, but how? They're all going to be locked up. That's a class 1 narcotic. Even in a pharmacy that is locked up.
You're not gonna slide a thing to the side and find a box of fentanyl patches.
Yeah, that's not like behind the counter where they keep the PlayStation 4 games. Whatever number they're on. I don't know.
That would have been 4 back then, probably.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
See? Yeah.
Yeah, I was right. Thanks,
I thought you were really trying to do the math on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he just guessed right.
I just don't know.
No, because PlayStation 5 came out in 2020, I believe. So 2018 or
just
whatever.
in time for Sony planned COVID.
Yeah. Here's at the end of the day, this is entertaining. Like I said, I thought it was fine, right? But it didn't really add too much.
Do the same that the first you did.
And I think the problem is too, now that we've gotten a Last of Us TV show, The Last of Us, the video game and the show, does everything that this series and movies, sneaking around a city that's all, the only difference is that's a virus instead of aliens, but you're doing the same thing. They're sensitive to sound.
The same look.
The clickers use sonar. I mean, it's kind of, they're the same thing. And so I think that series and game, they're so good.
Oh yeah.
That now you watch this and you're kind of like, well, this, if Last of Us didn't exist, it'd be fine, but we've already seen it.
When did Last of Us come out compared to A Quiet Place?
It's older.
I'm just saying.
It's definitely
What
older.
is it? Which is older? The Last of Us?
PS3.
Is that right? That was for the PS3? Okay.
I think we talked about this when the first movie came out that we enjoyed, but I think we talked about this. It's very similar to the video game The Last of Us.
Yeah, well.
Isn't that interesting?
And Krasinski does it again. So it's
solid.
it's gonna get lost in the shuffle. It's gonna get.
I think it's forgettable. I think it's entertaining, but I'm not gonna ever be
it will find its second life on VOD as most of these things do. I think
but you'd watch probably the first 2 again before you'd watch.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think I would ever be like.
But I think this is making a ton of money, isn't it?
Oh, is it really?
I thought
it's not really up against anything, is it?
I heard it did well. I didn't think it was like going crazy, but
I thought it made like $6 or $7 million just on Thursday.
it's not bad. But
and it has a budget of $67 million, so it's not.
Yeah, it's gonna.
But that's what I mean. I think this is perfectly entertaining to go out and see a sci-fi horror action. It's an entertaining movie, but I mean, in a few years, I don't think we're going to go like, oh, remember how good A Quiet Place Day 1 was? Where we would be like, A Quiet Place is really good.
It's when somebody's like, didn't we? It's when Kevin doesn't forgets that he's on episodes.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those, right? But again, that's why I prefaced in the beginning, this is a perfectly entertaining movie, but if we're going to critique it, I do think that it's a bit forgettable compared to the others.
I would agree.
And 3 is supposed to be in the works. There's no release date on it yet.
4?
No, this is a prequel. A Quiet Place 3 is supposed to be coming out. This doesn't count as it's a trilogy, planned
so
trilogy.
It's supposed to follow the family.
kids?
Yeah, it's going to be the next Emily Blunt chapter or whatever. The family.
I don't know, man. I get it. It's making you money. You got a franchise. There's always stories you can tell. That's the bottom line.
Well, I think he wants to be a trilogy. I guess because everything has to be a nice, clean trilogy now. But those movies are good. I mean, I can't.
From 6 seasons in a movie to 6 movies in a TV show.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I like the first 2. I'm not opposed to a third one.
First 2
right?
are great. First 2 are fantastic.
I don't think I would be like, oh, don't make a third. I mean, they haven't failed
look,
yet.
I've sat through a lot worse horror sequels than this.
Yeah.
Agreed. Like I will say I don't feel like they phoned it in.
No. It looked really good. The effects and the monsters and the damage and destruction, like it is a good looking movie. This is the guy that directed Pig, which is why I think you get a lot more somber tone
That's a weird ass movie, man.
I love Pig. That was
so
great.
strange.
It's great, but it's Michael Sarnoski. Apparently, Krasinski saw that and was like, "I'm going to get this guy to do one of these movies." So that's why I think he's really good with the quieter, pun intended, but like the character stuff with Lupita Nyong'o's character. But again, it didn't resonate the same way as The Family did.
No, I agree.
That's why I just don't. I like her journey, but I wish she had a stronger person to play off of. I wish we cared more.
You're going to see a lot more of that guy in about a year. That guy's going to be
Is he blowing up?
No, he's going to be the Human Torch.
Oh, right.
I mean, they're Marvel's going to put the machine behind him, and
Yeah.
that's going to be.
We'll see. I hope they can bring it back. We'll see if Deadpool, Wolverine.
It's gonna.
Have you seen what that movie looks like? Like the color grading on it?
I don't know what's happening in that movie.
I haven't watched the trailer, but people keep posting stills from it, and it looks so murky and like.
I think it depends on what
gross.
multiverse you're in.
Okay.
I think each universe is going to look different.
I hope it's not like a dreary looking.
I don't think so.
Dark and.
I don't know.
Because Marvel has, typically been like brighter and more
Yeah.
colorful and everything.
Yeah.
And I hope they're not doing the thing where it's like, oh, this is more like edgy and it's darker.
That's going to be a massive movie.
Oh yeah, it's gonna make all the money.
Yeah.
I hope it's good.
That's the bottom line. That's the scary
Yeah.
part. Is Marvel's track record as of late has not been good.
So we'll see in a few
Yeah.
weeks.
This comes from a different end of
That's
that
also true.
world. You know what I mean?
That's very
Like,
true.
It's not really an MCU movie, even though they're trying to.
It might be by the end.
Yeah, like they're trying to like take credit for it retroactively.
Yeah,
but
right,
it's
right.
Not
No,
really.
This is the Fox men.
yeah.
This is the.
Deadpool and Wolverine are both Fox Marvel.
Oh, sure.
So this is
They're the only two characters that Fox was like, we got Deadpool and Wolverine.
yeah,
That's it.
and Spider-Man, but we're not allowed to touch.
Yeah,
it.
right. Yeah, exactly.
We've got a Spider-Man, but we can't touch
We can't do anything with it. We got to make these spin-off movies.
it. Yeah. So anyway, I guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everybody can say where to find them.
But before we stop, we should say thank you to everybody. Like
Yeah.
we're not
Yes.
here. We're not doing 800 episodes without you guys. So thank you for sticking around.
Yeah, we're not doing this to hear ourselves.
No, well, it feels that way sometimes.
Well,
The amount of times I just hit play on YouTube so it gets views on the damn thing.
are you how we get
Yeah.
all those views?
Yeah.
Oh, now it makes sense.
I just refresh it.
Yeah.
But no, thank you guys so much for sticking around. Like it's been a lot of fun.
It's pretty
we're gonna-
neat to think
we're gonna
after
keep going.
this many years that there are still people that have stuck with us.
Yeah.
I mean, we've lost some, and
Disneyland
gained some
Matt,
along the way,
gone.
right? But I still wonder sometimes what happened to him. But it's just neat to think that anyone would care enough about what we have to say for
Yeah.
800
800
episodes.
episodes.
That's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
cool.
That's
So
a lot.
It is a lot. So you can follow me on the Twitter at JoeyButts, BUTTS21, also on Letterboxd at the same.
This is Kevin. Follow me on Twitter at Kevin R. Brackett.
This is Tom. You can follow me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and of course, don't forget our Patreon at patreon.com/Real Spoilers. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, Marlena explodes.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, 'cause we all